Okay, guys, so I want to ask you this question as we get started with our Black wealth conversation. Does the Black community exist? Does the Black community exist? Now, why would I ask such a ridiculous and asinine question? Well, I asked that question because there are some people who would argue that Black people don't really have a community. There are some people that would actually try to argue that instead of actually having a community, they would say that we just have a bunch of neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are different from communities. Neighborhoods are just places where a bunch of people live. They may or may not know each other. They may or may not be connected. They may or may not actually have anything in common with each other. And so a lot of people say that Black people have neighborhoods and not communities, especially when you talk about areas where, Black people don't own anything, right? I think that's, I think that's something to sort of consider, particularly when you talk about wealth and what it means to actually, sort of influence the politics of your community, of the place that you live. And this comes up a lot. It came up a lot at the All Black National Convention because we actually had a panel at the convention called By the Block. And in this panel, we talked to Kenny Gamble, where, he talked about how he, in the 1970s, Kenny Gamble's, he's of Gamble and Huff fame. And Gamble and Huff were two really famous songwriters. I know one of their more famous songs is Me and Mrs. Jones. And they had a few other songs that did really well. I think they wrote about 3,000 songs and are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Kenny and Gamble and Huff, they made a lot of money, things like that. And so, one of the things that I noticed was that, when he was buying these neighborhoods in these places that nobody wanted to live, his goal was to own these houses, but then to also just sort of transform the whole neighborhood, transform the place in which he owned that property and just make it an acceptable place to live. And, I don't really know if we really have a lot of communities when it comes to Black people. I think we have digital communities. I think digitally we're connected. We talk on Facebook and Twitter and all that, but that's not the same as actually having communities where you control the politics, you can control the narrative and what's happening in that community. And, or you get to decide, who's going to be the police chief, who's going to, what's going to happen with your school board. Like I watch how white folks kind of run their communities, and I see them sort of battling over, I think Tom O'Brady should be the sheriff, or Mike Maloney or whatever. We want to build a new school, and we can't build it because they won't increase the taxes by a penny, things like that. So I would argue that in general, I'll be done in about an hour, ready to leave that hour. So, okay. Sorry, she was coming to me. Speaking of community, communities are pretty much collections of families. And speaking of family, that was her. So she was asking me when I want to eat. So, so when you build a family, build one with a Black woman. Black women are awesome. In case you don't know that. Anyway, so let me read this from Powernomics. Now, you guys know I'm a big fan of Dr. Claude Anderson. And let me know if you can hear me. It looks like some of you are saying that you're having trouble with the sound. Tell me if you are not able to hear. If you can hear me, just say I can hear you. That way I can move forward. Okay, Shanora says she can hear me. Okay, by the way, hi Natasha, and I see James. Okay, Natasha says I can hear you. Okay, good. All right, and if you have questions, if you're inside the actual webinar, those of you from the Black Business School were invited to actually come inside the webinar where you can actually ask me questions, and I will see your questions and answer them. Though there are a few of you watching from outside the conversation, if you want to be a part of it, want to actually come inside where I can see your questions, just join the Black Business School, theblackbusinessschool.com. It doesn't matter if you have a lot of money or not. You can actually get started for free. And so I don't want you to think that this is only a place you can go if you have a ton of money. We do have programs, that have different investment levels, and they're all very, very good, and they're better than like college classes, whereas universities will charge you, $30,000 a year. Most of our programs are less than $100 a month, less than $2 or $3 a day. And the thing is that this is knowledge you must have. We as Black people, we've gone through a lot as a people. We have tremendous economic problems in our families. We as Black people are constantly looking for a way to solve the vast economic challenges that exist in our community. So therefore, the Black Business School is designed to solve those problems. So if you have not signed your family up in the Black Business School, you need this. We need this. We all need this. When I became a financial expert, I became much more empowered to solve problems in my own life and in the lives of those that I care about. And I'll tell you, without my education, it would have been a lot harder to solve those problems. Those problems would have been very difficult to solve. So if you are a person who has children where you want your children to have a better future, well, we've got a Black Business School for children. It's called the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com will have your child in a full understanding of college level financial concepts. The children that go through the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, they know more financial literacy than most adults. They have degrees. They get actual degrees and certificates from the program, and this is very important for their self-esteem. They put their degrees on their wall. Kids brought their little diplomas to the All Black National Convention. I signed them for them. This is going to be very important because remember, we're nation building. So maybe for some people, maybe in in this nation that we're building, maybe for some of the people or some people I meet or their children, maybe I have that role of a George Washington or Marcus Garvey kind of person. And I'm not putting myself on that pedestal, but I'll accept it if that's what we need. And so imagine, if you're talking about a little white kid who has his first bachelor's degree from Harvard University signed by George Washington or whatever, right? That means a lot to these kids. And so what I just want to say to you is, I just want to beg you really to do something for your family when it comes to financial literacy. Do not allow your family to live in a capitalist society without understanding finances, because that is like living out in the woods and not knowing anything about survivalism. It's like being in the middle of a football game and knowing nothing about how to play football. You will be pulverized. If you go into the football field and you don't know how to play, you haven't been trained, you haven't practiced, you don't know what to do. A lot of our people are in that position, and that's why we suffer. That is why we get lost. That is why it seems like white people are running circles around us. Imagine if you got dropped in the middle of a game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, and you're trying to find a way to score touchdowns. You wouldn't know what to do. It would seem like their offensive schemes would be too complicated. Their players would be too big, too fast, too well trained. Well, that's how you feel when you throw Black kids out into the economic system and they've never been trained on economics. They get into this very competitive, high stakes game and they get their butts kicked. I received a text message not too long ago from a young guy that I mentored a long time ago. And, and he was, when he was a kid, when he was 10 or 11, I used to try to talk to his mother and talk to him about getting him into some kind of economic training, economic program. I said, he's a Black man. He needs this. If he doesn't have this, he's going to struggle. And, of course, sometimes people listen, sometimes they don't. I don't push it on people. But, years later, he's reaching out to me and he's trying to borrow money. And he's saying, I can't make it. The child support is too much. My job's not paying me enough. And I'm like, yeah, child support sucks. I know that. I pay child support. I told you not to go mess with all them girls and make them babies. But of course, you can't talk a man out of sex sometimes. Some men just want it. They want to do it right then, and there are consequences to that, right? And he's like, oh, my boss, they treat me so bad and I hate my job. And I said, yeah, that's why I told you never go work for those people. I told you to go learn how to start a business, but you didn't want to do that. You wanted to play basketball and wanted to play football and all this other stuff. And that's fine. Do that stuff, but you shouldn't put that ahead of your future, And so, if you ask me, what makes somebody, what is a slave mentality? What does that mean to be a slave, to have a slave mentality? Well, a slave mentality to me is when you know that something is going to destroy you, but you do it anyway. You know, a slave mentality is when you know that certain habits in your culture are going to ultimately ruin your future, but you do it anyway. That's a slave mentality to me. A slave mentality to me is when you see devastation all around you. You see everybody in your family struggling. Everybody hates their job. Everybody hates their life. Everybody's depressed. Everybody feels like the struggle's real. And when it's time, when you get free time where you can actually solve these problems and make your life better, you do nothing. You do nothing. You just submit to the misery. You submit to the misery. So they might as well call it submisery. When you're submitting to the misery and just that's what it is. So you get some free time. You don't spend time, trying to get education or trying to solve the problem or trying to work together or trying to build something. Instead, you get free time. You spend that time partying. You know, instead of building and moving forward, you get free time. You spend that time watching TV. You spend that time in engaged in what they call pleasure seeking activities. Pleasure seeking activities, those are things that people do that, when they have problems and they don't want to face their problems. Their problems seem too hard to solve. So they say, why solve the problem when I can just smoke some crack? And that'll make the problem go away. That'll numb the pain. So a lot of our people, I believe, are wired to numb the pain. And when you're the person that in your family, some of you are in this position. Tell me if you are in that position. You're the one who goes in and screams out the warning signs, right? You're the one who says, you're the guy who says to your homeboy, like, hey man, look, don't be messing with all these girls. The child support's gonna kill you. And then he makes fun of you, like, oh man, you scared, but dude, you scared of the pussy, man. What's wrong with you? You a punk, whatever. And then years later, this guy is crying because he's on his way to jail because he can't pay child support on all the kids that he created because he was out here just messing with all these women. Excuse my French from using the P word. I didn't mean to do that. It just came out. But I get that from my father. My father just talked to me about life in a really honest way. And he just let me know that, in this world, when you're a black man, your margin of error is basically zero. And you are under attack from the time you're born, from the time that you come into this earth. They want you dead. They want you dead. And so because of that, because you have that sense of urgency, you must approach life with an understanding that, you can't do what the white kids do. You can't sit around and be lazy like white kids can be. You can't throw away your opportunities every time you get them. You can't sit around and not want to get an education and not want to plan for your future. If you don't make a plan, believe me, somebody always has a plan for you. When black people don't make a plan for themselves, somebody has a plan for you. When you don't make a plan to own yourself and own things around you, somebody has a plan to own you and to make money off of you, to benefit from you. That's where the prison industrial complex comes from. They said, oh, we don't have any use for black people. We don't really like them, but we can put them in prison and make them slaves, and we can make a lot of money from slave labor. The NCAA, same thing. They extract about $1 billion a year from black people. You go, into a lot of other areas. This crazy media, this music they drop on black people. You can just keep going down the list. Corporate America, all of that. So anyway, do me a favor, really quick. If you're inside the Black Wealth conversation, go ahead and put your questions in. I'm gonna literally drill down and go through your questions, and I'm also gonna read a little bit from the Powernomics book in 1 second, and we're gonna talk through some of that. If you happen to be watching outside, hit a button, hit a thumbs up button or a like button or a share button or something like that. And the URL for the children's program is blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. We made the price as low as we could. And also the first month, in fact, the first month costs you nothing. There's no cost for the first 30 days. So somebody please type that in. It's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. So give me 1 second here. Hold on. Okay. Now, one of the things I want to talk about for sure is, right now you've got, it's kind of election time, and everybody's talking about what's going to happen in the polls, and everybody's rocking the vote, souls to the polls, taking black people to go register for vote after they get out of church and stuff like that. And I think that's fine. It's okay to do that. There are people that have different opinions on, politics in terms of the role it plays in shaping the outcomes and opportunities for black people. There's no question that votes matter, right? There's no question that voting matters in the sense that the people that have power, the people that run the political system, they have a very good reason to suppress your vote. And it's not because your vote is your opportunity to do something for yourself. That's a myth, right? Like some people, I think I heard the rapper Common say, if your vote didn't count, then they would work so hard to take it. And that's accurate. That's true, but it's not true. It's true, but it's false. And let me explain what I mean by that. It's true in the sense that votes do matter. The people in power do care about who has the right to vote and who does not, right? But the votes don't matter because they're going to be a tool necessarily to improve the lives of the voter. The studies show, America is not really democracy; it's more of an aristocracy. Also, the studies pretty much show black people's condition has not changed, no matter who we vote for. So voting is important the same way a college athlete signing to a certain university matters, right? If the University of Alabama signs the best wide receiver in the country and they steal that person away from the University of Texas, then that does matter. It does make a difference. But it doesn't make a difference because it's going to benefit the athlete or their family. They're not really going to benefit. They're still not going to get paid. They're still going to get robbed and ripped off. Where the reason it matters is because the people at the top benefit when the athlete chooses their school versus another school, right? So the same thing is true when it comes to voting. Your vote does matter, no question. There's a reason why they want to suppress the black vote. But the people that want black people voting don't want black people voting because black people are going to benefit from voting. They want black people voting because the people in power benefit from the power of running the political system. So if you're going to vote, and let's say, for example, there was an election and there was $1 million sitting here in this pot. And I said, you're going to give the money to either me or I don't know, Roland Martin, right? Who's the funniest looking black man in America, right? Either me or Roland Martin. I don't know who would win. Roland's better looking than me, so Roland would probably win. But let's say Roland and I were running for, whoever people vote as the best looking black, annoying black man in America. We win that pot of money, right? Well, then yeah, I would absolutely want people who follow me to vote. And I would probably not want people who like Roland to vote because they're going to vote for him. So I would work to suppress that vote. And so to that extent, somebody might say, well, yeah, your vote matters because if it didn't matter, Boyce and Roland wouldn't be working to suppress it, right? But at the end of the day, when the votes are tallied, the people that would benefit from that vote would either be me or him. The people that benefit would not be the people who are actually casting the vote. So if somebody asks me, if somebody says, well, voting, why would you say votes don't matter? I've never said votes don't matter in general. What I have said is that votes don't matter that much for black people. Do you follow my logic? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So Orlando says, would I say that not voting is a protest? Absolutely. Go look at Congress. Whenever the people in Congress feel that their vote isn't going to give them a voice, they abstain from voting. They say, we're not voting. We're going to abstain out of protest. Abstention, like not voting, is a 10,000-year-old method for having your voice heard by saying, I'm deliberately going to be silent to let you know that if you thought you were going to get my vote, but you're not going to get it because you're not doing what I need you to do, right? It's no different from a man's wife saying, and there have been feminist groups that advocated. You ever see where they say women abstain from sex, for your men to get them to change their behavior? So you would never tell those women like, well, if you're not having sex with your husband, then you don't count, you don't matter. right? Your vagina matters. And she's like, yeah, I know it matters. That's why I'm holding that shit back. That's why I'm not I got cussing. I'm sorry. I told you guys I wasn't gonna do it. But she's saying that's why I'm holding it back, because I know that it matters a lot to him and he's not acting right. So I'm abstaining from sex in order to send a message to him so that when he changes his behavior, I'll respond accordingly, right? I will give him what they call it, positive reinforcement by saying I approve of your behavior now, so now we can have sex again. But you keep that other crazy stuff up, I'm abstaining. I'm not participating, right? So actually abstaining from voting. I'm not telling people what to do. I'm not doing that at all. I'm breaking it down for you. Abstaining from voting is a logical political strategy. Do I recommend it? I'm not recommending nothing. Just like when it comes to financial stuff, I don't recommend, a certain investment. I'm not here to give you financial advice. I can just tell you the pros and the cons of any option that you might choose. And then at that point, I want you to be informed enough to make your own decision at that point. Okay. So anyway, one of the things that Dr. Claude Anderson talks about actually is he actually has a pyramid, I guess you might call it, or a ladder that he refers to in terms of gaining power politically and otherwise in America. And what he says is that voting can matter for the constituent if the constituent comes from a community that has an economic base. And this is why I asked you guys in the beginning, do Black people really have a community, or do we have a bunch of neighborhoods? If you have a community that has an economic base where resources are pooled, businesses are owned, things like that, you're business owners in this community, which means you get to pick the politicians that you want, things like that, then what happens is that economic base drives everything else. Go look at any suburb, and what you'll find is that in those suburbs, the suburb is that the suburbs that are run where they have their own little government are pretty much run by the wealthy people in those communities, and the business owners in those communities. They're the ones who can get the sit downs with the mayor. They're the ones who can say, I don't want this person as the police chief. They're the ones who can, say we need a bigger school. We need to build another school because the other one isn't holding all the kids that we have in the community. So what Dr. Anderson says is, go vote, fine, do that. But start with your economic base. You must build that economic base with business owners, wealth builders, et cetera. And then the economic base drives the politics. That's when you can go buy whatever elected officials that you need to have in place. Politicians don't do what Black people ask because Black people ain't got no money. That's why Barack Obama ignored Black people, because we weren't paying the bills to fund the Obama presidency. We paid the votes. We delivered the votes. White folks delivered the money. So the people that delivered the money were the ones who could walk in and get Barack on the phone or get a meeting with him. That's why when it came time for him to pick somebody for the Supreme Court, he had promised Dorothy Height before she died. He promised her he would look into getting a Black woman on the court, because there's never ever been a Black woman on the Supreme Court. But instead, he went for Elena Kagan, who checked a lot of boxes for the white liberal establishment. She's a woman. She was from Harvard. Harvard is very important. People at Harvard work very, very hard to control their power. She's Jewish. That's extremely important. A large percentage of Supreme Court justices have been Jewish. It's just a fact. It's not an anti-Semitic statement. It's just a fact. Also, a lot of people think she was a lesbian. And Obama was very heavy into the LGBT agenda. That was his number one priority, was to shift the American landscape when it came to the LGBT issues. That's why Newsweek named President Obama the first gay president. They literally go Google it, go look it up. I'm not making it up. I can show you a picture. There's a picture of Obama. He's got a little halo on his head that's got those the colors. I don't know all the colors for the gay rainbow, but you know what I'm talking about. And they literally said he's the first gay president. And Obama didn't argue with it. Obama didn't say, well, that's insulting, I'm not gay. He just, went along with it, right? So, my point is to say that, according to Dr. Anderson, the economic base drives the politics and the politicians, which drives the judges. You get to decide who the judges are going to be. You can buy your way out of trouble, things like that, which then connects to media. Media, if you have an economic base, you can establish your own media, which means you can create your own narrative, set your own message. If you want to understand that, go read the book, How the Jews Built Hollywood. It's a very long book, but it's an excellent book that explains how a bunch of Eastern European Jews many of whom grew up extremely poor, created the trillion-dollar industry that is known as Hollywood today. They literally, if you look, if you look at Hollywood and you look at the history of most of the major Hollywood studios, they were started by Jewish people who leveraged the Jewish community to create a scenario in which they formed the economic base and managed the politics, and ultimately by controlling media, their goal was to shift the narrative. That's why you can't even say the word Jew without being accused of being anti-Semitic. It's not anti-Jewish, it's actually pro-Jewish, in the sense that I'm saying Black people, pay attention, peep out the game. They mastered the game. They killed the game. They killed it. So they went and they built Hollywood. Warner Brothers was started by a Jewish family, the Warners, who literally sold the family horse so they could buy a projector and show these moving pictures to people in the community. They were making money, and so they eventually built a movie house, and then eventually that became Warner Brothers Studios. You can go back and look at some of the other major ones. I won't go through them all, but Paramount Pictures, all that stuff. Lowe's Theaters, the William Morris Agency, where a lot of Black actors and actresses are owned by the William Morris Agency. The William Morris Agency tells them what many of your favorite Black movie stars, I'm talking about people at the level of the Denzel Washingtons and Taraji P. Hensons, they bow to the William Morris Agency, and that was started by a Jewish man named William Morris. I mean, badass people, bad and bougie. I'm not even hating on these people at all. I'm not saying, oh, they're so bad and they're doing this and they're doing that. No, they're using their power to achieve the goals that matter to them, right? And they started in a place where, again, being Jewish was never as bad as being Black, but being Jewish was pretty bad. There were people that would say, oh, well, I was going to send my children to that school until I found out they'd be in school with a Jew. Or, we don't let Jews into this school, no matter how much money you have, just things like that. So they were confronting that. And they said the way we can confront the racism is to stack our paper, build institutions, and then control the media. When they control the media, they control the narrative. So anyway, going further, after that, he talks about education. Education. Now, again, my theory on education is Black people should just have our own schools. I think we should just have thousands of Black centers and African center schools across the country that represent our interests, to the point where we don't even care what's going on in the local public school. Or we're not even worried like that they're not putting enough money into our schools in our little neighborhoods, because we're sending our kids to Black schools anyway, right? I think that that's a better solution than waiting on public schools to get better, because even if they get better, they're still going to teach your kids the wrong stuff. Even if the public schools become wonderfully, miraculously, extraordinarily efficient, they're still going to be wonderfully, miraculously, and extraordinarily efficient at teaching Black kids how to be white. That's what they're going to teach your kids. They're going to be extraordinarily, miraculously, wonderfully efficient at teaching your children how to go work for white people. That's what they're going to be. They're going to be, miraculously efficient at teaching your child how to go in deep in debt at a white university so they can get a job working for a white man, and then spend the next 40 years in corporate slavery trying to get out of debt that they can never get out of. They will become a sharecropper. That was sharecropping. You just put people in so much debt that they can never get out of it. Then they have to work for you for the rest of their lives to try to pay off a debt that is never going to be repayable. So many of our Black college graduates are in a position where, unfortunately, they've become corporate sharecroppers. Many of our, college athletes are sharecroppers, right? So anyway, let me go through some of your questions. And I hate being, I'm going to be real ratchet right now because I'm going to literally take a bite of this watermelon. I'm so hungry. Don't make fun of me for eating while I'm on camera. By the way, those of you who are still interested in the Black Dragon Mastermind, which is where it's for a very small group of people, where I'm going to actually coach your family on implementing the Black Dragon principles of economic power within your family, where I will literally talk to you directly about how you can actually structure your household to build wealth over several generations based on your situation. Feel free to go take a look. It's at Black Dragon, blackdragondiscount.com. That's where you can actually get the discount. So the discount's still there until tonight. It expires at midnight. And right now it's 67% off. And I'm only offering it to people that are in the inner circle, people that follow me pretty closely. So feel free to take a look. And if you think it's for you, it's not a cheap. It's one of our premium programs. It's not, it's not, under $100 a month like most of the programs. It costs a lot more, and the reason is because it's very difficult to do one-on-one sort of family coaching. But that's sort of what it is. So I bring you into a small group. You tell me all about your family. I tell you all about specific ways that you can implement all of the ideas and concepts that I laid out during the Black Dragon lecture that I did the other day. The Black Dragon lecture was where I went through my 11-day research trip to China and basically explained 10 ways that the Chinese government has established economic dominance over the world and how your family can actually operate like the Chinese government. I really believe that if somebody just said, I'm going to take all the ways that the Chinese government sort of manages its people and gets them on the same page and moves forward their economic engine, we're going to do the same thing in our household. That Black family is not ever going to have an economic problem that is defined, that sort of is similar to what poor people go through. That will not be a poor family. That's going to be a family that's actually going to have more money than most white people. That family will probably be in the 1% within one generation. And then at that point, you have other problems. So when you become part of the 1%, and some of our students are in the 1%, we have students that have been with us for a couple, 2-3 years. They now have businesses. They're now making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, things like that. And what happens is that when you become part of the 1%, your problems change. Before, your problem was, I don't have enough money. The struggle's real. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. But when you become part of the 1%, some of your problem becomes, not just things like taxes and stuff like that, but it becomes a twofold. One, a lot of relatives that want to, just hound the hell out of you over money. Because the hard thing about being Black and successful economically, and some of y'all know this, tell me if you're in this category, but if you're doing well and you're financially responsible, meaning you save your money, you invest your money, you keep your credit right, you're a lot of times you become an island in a sea of lava, in a sea of financial lava and financial misery. And so what happens is everybody is coming to you to solve their financial problems. It was in that movie Soul Food where you have Vanessa Williams' character, who was a successful lawyer, and all her siblings, none of her siblings, went to college. None of them made investments. None of them saved their money. So every time something came up, they would look to her to go pay for it. Or if you have good credit, people come to you and say, hey, I need you to co-sign. And a lot of times, these are people that you love. And what'll happen is they'll hinge, their relationship with you on whether or not you do this favor for them. So if you don't do the favor, then they're like, oh, you done got, you became a snob, you done got bougie on us, you're not really loyal to the family. Like they'll put that guilt trip on you. So that becomes like one of the problems. And the other problem that you have is that because America as a country has such a commitment to financial sloppiness and irresponsibility, you have a lot of people that just vilify those who have money. Like there are a lot of people who just inherently believe all people who are doing well financially are liars and cheaters and bad people, right? That you're just a terrible person because you're not going through the misery that everybody else is going through, because misery does love company. And I don't believe that. I don't believe every millionaire is an evil person. I know some millionaires who started off with nothing. I know a lady, a single mom who now is worth $1 million. So she's in that 1% or close to it. And she never started a business or anything. All she did was she maxed out her 401k. She kept her credit right. She didn't go into deep college debt. She avoided debt. And she bought a house as soon as she could. And her house value went up by $300,000 while she owned it. So now she's a millionaire, and she's the same person that grew up, so broke that they couldn't even afford a refrigerator. So she came from the hood. She kept it real. She was just like people from the hood, but she just made good decisions. She made good decisions. And part of the reason that I'm real skeptical and I'm a real critic of this politicized rhetoric is that the politicized rhetoric makes you believe that you don't have any choice in your outcomes. The politicized rhetoric makes you believe that you control nothing in your life. that if Donald Trump is in the White House, that's why you're failing. That's why your life is terrible. When we all know that when Barack Obama was in the White House, if you was a dumbass when Obama was in office, who was struggling. I mean, if you were a dumbass, a struggling dumbass when Obama was in office, you're gonna be a struggling dumbass when Trump is in office. And I'm not saying that every person who's struggling is a dumbass. I'm saying the dumbasses tend to struggle. Period. Some of y'all got dumbasses in your family. Some of y'all got people in your family who make one bad decision after another, throw away one opportunity after another. Could have went to college. They chose to go to the club and do nothing, right? Could have saved the money. They chose to spend it. Could have, made smarter decisions in relationships, but wanted to chase the bad boy or wanted to chase the girl with the big booty, right? And next thing you know, everything's falling apart. And because they've got this crutch called, I'm black, and that's why I struggle, because somebody gives them a crutch, that leads them to not even understand that many of your outcomes were driven by your choices. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not real big on caring or thinking that somehow magically whoever we put in the White House is going to change my condition or the condition of the people I love. It's simple. Doesn't matter if Reagan's in office, Bush, Clinton, whoever. If the people in my family who make good decisions are doing well, typically the ones who make bad decisions are not doing so well. Now outside things happen, of course. I mean, we do have factors out there. There's no question about it. But the greatest factor in your outcomes will be you. Okay. So anyway, let me answer some of your questions. Blaine says, I would like to start a small investment group, and I'm interested in knowing what's the best setup and what is the most tax-friendly way to do it for the group or the individual involved. I would say that if you're trying to start an investment club, there's a way to set up a club. Actually, if you go into blackmoney102.com, or the stock market investing program, I actually break down how to start an investment club. Also in the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, there's a whole tutorial on how to start an investment club, what regulations to follow, things like that. There are things that in place, like, for example, your club can't have more than 99 members. Everybody in the club has to vote on the investment. If you don't have that, if you have one person making all the investment decisions, then that becomes a different category. That might, register you as a mutual fund, which requires approval from the SEC, things like that. One of the faculty in the Black Business School, Dr. Venetia Dutra, is she's creating an investment group to invest in real estate and house flips and things like that. And so to do that, she had to get SEC approval. And so when you form your group, form your club, it depends on the type of club you're trying to form. You probably want to consult a lawyer if you're trying to do some heavy investing as a group. I think that's really important. Will says, I have a 403B plan at my job, and I need to learn how to get the most from this plan for my retirement. Can you help me with this? I'm 54. Well, the main thing is that since you're 54, you don't want to take the same risk in your portfolio that you would if you were 24. Over time, if you have a lot of time to wait till retirement or whatever, then, the younger you are, the more risk you can take, because time kind of waters down risk, right? What time does is it means, like, if the market drops, like right now, the stock market has plummeted pretty good. In fact, it was doing really well this morning. And by the end of the day, like, I think I looked this morning, it was like 350 up, 300 up. And by the end of the day, it dropped by a 250 something points. So the market's kind of going through a dip right now. Historically, the dips don't last. The dips are like thunderstorms. You have a thunderstorm, it's raining, but that doesn't mean it's going to rain forever. Eventually the rain goes away and the sun comes out. So the stock market has always been the same way. Now, is that going to be the case all the time forever? I can't say, because nobody can predict the future. Even if they say they can predict the future, they can't. But I know historically, anybody who bought the dips, who, invested more when the market went down, over time, they did better than people who ran away. That's the biggest mistake historically that people have made, is when they run away from the market. So what's his name? John Rogers, who runs Ariel Capital Management. He's a nice guy. I met him twice. He's a brother that's a billionaire in Chicago. And he wrote a great article where he explained that Black people gave away probably about $1 trillion in wealth in the 2008 crash, because we ran away from the market when the market dipped. We got scared and we ran off. And the people that held on, the Warren Buffett types, they dug in deeper. They bought more stuff because they said, okay, America's on sale right now. I want to go shopping. So they bought a lot of stuff. And then when that value went back up, whether it was property or stocks and bonds, they made a killing from that. So, I'm not telling you exactly how to pursue it, but I am here to tell you that historically, that's kind of been a strategy that's worked pretty well. Ishmael says, good evening, Dr. Boyce. Are there any scholarship opportunities for Freedom Family alumni to continue their education in the Black Business School? Let's see. You know what? Yes, for you, there will be. And what I want you to do is email support at theblackbusinessschool.com, email support at theblackbusinessschool.com. And what I'm going to do is tell them I sent you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a note and I'm going to tell them to work with you. And that's true for really anybody in here. If you really want to learn and your money's tight, we can't do everything for free. We got a business. We have Black people we got to pay. They have children that want to eat. They have to pay their bills. So we can't do everything for free, but what we can do is give you a superior education at probably about 1/100th of what it would cost you to go to most universities and learn. And these are very good professors. Our Dean of Entrepreneurship is Julian Gordon. If you've ever heard Julian speak, he's extraordinary. We have Dr. Benicia Dutra, who has a PhD in finance. We have attorney Nicole Compton, who every week is meeting with students, teaching them how to get their businesses off the ground. We have so many all-star faculty, Dr. Shauna, ATN, teaching business processes. The list goes on and on and on. So, I say give it a try. But if your money's tight or you need, us to figure something out, just let them know. And I give them permission to make whatever deal makes sense to them. Just don't try to, it's an honor system. So just be honorable. Honorable means, look, if you were going to go to a white university and spend $30,000 a year, some of y'all did this. Some of y'all went to a university with professors just like me, just like Dr. Dutra, except they were white, which means they probably cared about you less and they probably couldn't teach you as well as we can. And you went $50,000 in debt to do that. Well, just show that same respect, when you come to Black Business School. And so if there's something there and it costs a few $100, don't hem and haw about it. Don't compare a college level education to what you might spend buying Popeye's chicken, or a pair of shoes. Don't say, well, oh my God, that's $80. That's too much. No, $80 isn't too much. Imagine if you could have went to Stanford University for $80. You'd be very excited about that, right? So that's what we ask people to do, is just be fair to the faculty and be fair to the people that we pay and we take care of. But if you have a financial problem, we will take care of you. If you're in the school and you've been there for a while and you've been doing the damn thing, we don't want to break you. We're not trying to break anybody. We're just trying to make sure that we have enough that we can maintain an independent educational space for Black people. The Black Business School exists for Black people. That is it. There's nobody else we're working on behalf of other than Black people. There are non-Black people who are in the Black Business School, but we tell them this is for Black people. So, the same way we feel when we go to, Yale University and everything's built around white people, well, that's how you're going to feel in our school, because everything here is Marcus Garvey, Black people. That's what it is. Dr. Claude Anderson, to us, Dr. Claude Anderson is a Nobel Prize winner. He's greater than any white man who's ever won a Nobel Prize in my mind, because he's solving the important problems. The important problems are the ones that affect Black people, not some problem that affects somebody else. Adrian's asking, with the Black Business School, is there a schedule or can you watch on your own time? We do have scheduled lectures. Every week something's going on. We're always sending you invites to special Zoom sessions. Dr. Dutra's business development classes are great for people that want to quit their jobs and start a business. I'm just telling you this right now. Not Dr. Dutra, I'm sorry, attorney Nicole Compton. She is a beast when it comes to answering all your business questions. She's a lawyer that charges $200 to $300 an hour. And she's right there answering 1,000,001 questions. Everything from, well, what paperwork do I fill out for my LLC? Or how do I set up my partnership in the right way? Or I don't really know if I can do business in this state without having this license. She answers all those questions extremely well. And she was one of the most popular speakers at the All Black National Convention because she was that damn good. So the entrepreneurship class is blackmoney103.com. And just so you can find out for yourself, you can actually do the first month free at blackmoney103.com. That's part of our Black Money sequence. We have 101, 102, 103. So feel free to go to blackmoney103.com if you want to quit your job, if you want to learn how to start a business. We can show you everything you need to know. And I'm going to tell you, for a Black person, knowing how to start a business is the most important decision that you'll ever make. When you learn that skill, you're gonna really be exposed to things that you didn't even know existed. Also, the best feeling in the world, if you ever want to have a real high, the best high for a business owner is that first time when you make money and it didn't come in the form of a paycheck. If you're a business owner here, please testify. Like, say something to the people in the chat. Like, let them know how that felt. When you make money and you're like, wait a minute, I made $1,000 while I was sleeping. I didn't know this was possible, right? Or you make, I have friends that run businesses and they make $180,000 a month. People don't make that much on regular jobs, but they had a good idea. I'm talking about people like hair care. I talked to a brother from Alabama who showed me his hair care store that he started with his wife, and they sell hair and weaves and wigs and hair care products, all that, and they make hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in a month, so there are people out there like that who are making that money doing basic things that you spend money on every day, like getting your hair done or buying toilet paper or whatever, right? So anyway, let me keep going. So there are structured lectures that happen regularly, but you can always watch the recordings. Everything's recorded, so you can go back and check out the recordings. And then also, every program has a certificate that you can get for the completion of all the content. So you can watch the videos at your own speed, and when you're done, I want you to print out your certificate so that you can take that thing and put it on your wall, because that is your Black college diploma. That is your Black Harvard degree. And I'm telling you, I want us as people to understand the value of what we can give to each other in terms of credibility, as opposed to waiting for other people to validate you, because they get to decide if they like you enough to validate you. And I don't think that's going to benefit you. Anyway, let me keep going. Nakia says, hey, Dr. Boyce, I remember seeing new books on one of your feeds from the BMOT program. When will those be available for sale? Yeah, we have curricula for children. We've spent a lot of time. I'm talking about thousands of man and woman hours developing extensive curricula for our Black Business School for Children. The curricula are almost available. They were on sale at the All Black National Convention. We will have them on sale widely, probably within the next month. And what we have is we got with Black educators and we developed curriculum for what they call grade bands. So like 1st through 3rd, 4th through 6th, 7th through 10th, et cetera. And basically, these workbooks allow you to kind of work with your child on investing, on the stock market, on money, things like that. And they go with the other little tools we have, like the flashcards, which are at financialflashcards.com. The financial flashcards are set up where you can actually, sort of teach your children the financial concepts of the cards. Also, the third element to that is the digital material. You can go through. There is a Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program on money, there's one on investing, there's one on the stock market, and there's one on real estate. So your children can be, experts pretty much on these areas, in the sense that they will know more than most adults. My children in my household, we go through stuff like that. We talk about things like this. I don't even really want them even thinking about getting a job, except as something that you do when you can't work for yourself. I don't want them to think of the job as the first thing that they aim for. Okay, Gregory says, I got the flashcards for my son. Okay, good. I'm very happy to hear that. They're going to appreciate you. Your children are going to look back at you, Gregory, and they're going to say, when they're doing something amazing in their lives, they're going to say, when I was a kid, my dad did something different with me. When I was young, I was giving my mom credit for this. I actually shared part of our family business meeting. And I asked for forgiveness rather than permission, because I recorded it as we were talking, just some part of it where I was talking to my mother about when we were young. And one of the things that my parents did that made a difference for me and my sister was they did everything different. My mother was 17 years old when she gave birth to me. She was a single mom for a while until she married my father when I was 3. And we did not have a lot of money. I remember the lights getting cut off. I remember seeing roaches, and seeing roaches was not a big deal. If you see a roach on your sandwich, it was kind of gross, but you would flick it off and keep eating like that. It was that kind of household, right? And it wasn't bad. It wasn't like we were in dire poverty, but we didn't have a whole lot of money. Like we'd run it. One time we were in the car, and I remember we ran out of gas in the car and we had to walk down the highway, like as a family. But it was my mother, my father, and me and my sister walking down the highway because the car had run out of gas. So it was like little stuff like that, and the thing was though, I remember, in hindsight, that even though I had a lot of friends, my mother, her and her friends had their kids like around the same time. There's something about young women where they'll all get pregnant at the same time. You ever seen that? So she had friends that had kids at the same time. So I would play with these kids growing up. And there was a distinct difference between how things were done in my household versus how things were done in their household. I remember getting disciplined a lot, probably too much. And I thought that I honestly thought that, that I wasn't a good kid because I would get in trouble. I would get punished and stuff, for little infractions, but everybody else would be like, oh, your son, he's such a good kid. He's so well behaved. And that's because they weren't disciplining their kids. They weren't, I remember my mother taking me to after school programs. Even when she didn't have any money, she found the programs that were free and would take me to the free programs, or the ones that cost a couple dollars. And when she had some money, she invested that money to put me in certain programs, certain situations where I had opportunities to be exposed to things. I remember also that there was, in our household, it wasn't a big space where there was conversations about, liberal versus conservative, Democrat versus Republican. I didn't hear any of that. I just heard about things that probably sound like conservative concepts, like personal responsibility. Like you're responsible for your actions. Like you make a mess in the house, you clean it up. I never knew what it was like to have a mom that would clean up after every mess that I made. And I had a cousin like that, whose mother would clean up after him all the time. And I would go to his house and be stunned, like, man, like you messed up your entire room and spilled the cake on the floor and didn't pick it up. And his mother would just come along like a little vacuum cleaner, clean everything up. Well, that was a metaphor for life. And let me tell you why. When he became a grown man and started making big messes in his life, messes with babies' mamas, messes with criminal justice issues, messes with his finances, guess who was running right behind him, cleaning it up, right? He never learned how to be a man. And I look back when we were kids, and my mother always, from the very beginning, made it clear to me, like, you made the mess, you pick it up, right? And so I just thought that was how everybody lived, and I did not know at that time how much empowerment my parents were giving me by just letting me know that no matter what you go through, you pick yourself back up. And also, you ultimately are still responsible for your life. You have a child, you're responsible for that child. You get in trouble, you figure out how to get out of jail. We're not coming to get you, right? Just little things like that. And so I think that, for those parents who are kind of not sure what to do with their kids, what I will say is don't be scared to be different. In fact, if you're not different, I worry about you because a lot of our children are turning out to be a mess. If you're not different, I'm really concerned because most of these children are not going to be prepared for the future. They'll be prepared. Like if the future involves playing professional basketball, they'll be very prepared for that because their mamas and daddies are spending $400 or $500 on basketball camp or $1,000 on basketball camp, right? If the future involves, dance contests, who can do the latest dance that the Migos, came out with, then they're going to do very well. But last time I checked, dance contests and playing basketball and football don't pay the bills for most people. What happens in life is your ability to survive comes down to little basic stuff. Can you make enough money to feed your children? Can you, do you know how to buy a home? Do you know how to start a business in case you get fired from that job? Those are the things that I see people figuring out now in adulthood. And if you give that to your kids while they're young, they'll have a huge advantage over everybody else. My parents didn't teach me about entrepreneurship because they didn't know anything about it. I taught them about that. But everything else about, responsibility, good decision-making, things like that, they taught that very, very well to me as a kid. And I appreciate that. Ashley says, can you extend the discount for the Black Dragon program to the evening of November 1st? I can extend it for you. How about that? Since you're asking, Ashley, I can't extend it after midnight because that's just kind of what the agreement was that we made. And in general, also, we don't want too many people in the program, but I will save a spot for you. So email support@theblackbusinessschool.com and tell them that I said that we will save a spot for you at the price that exists right now. If somebody else is in here and you want the discount price, and you want to wait, then I can do that. I can't do it for a lot of people, but I can do it for a couple of you. So Ashley, I'll save the spot for you. I have a cousin named Ashley Wilson. I don't know if you're Ashley Wilson, my cousin, but if you are, good to see you, cuz. All right. Adrian Kikes says, hey, boys, and the rest of the family. My question is, I'm working in a corporate plantation job, but aspire to have an online boutique for men's clothing. How can I effectively use my tax return in this endeavor? I think that first step in getting money is learning how to get the money. Education is critical to taking those steps to moving toward where you want to get to. And I'm not talking about formal education, like at a university. Business schools are horrible at teaching people how to run businesses. Business schools don't teach you how to run a business. Business schools teach you how to work for a business owner. That's what business schools teach you. So don't take your money and go to a business school, because that's not going to get you any closer to your goal. There's an old saying, actually, that formal education will help you make a living. Self-education will help you make a fortune. And by the way, so you're asking Connie about the price of the Black Dragon program. It's a premium program, so the price is a little bit on the higher side. I can't remember exactly what it is, but there's a big discount right now. So if you go to blackdragondiscount.com, you can take a look. Blackdragondiscount.com. It expires at midnight, but if you want to be a part of the program, it's a personal program. A very small number of people where I work with your family individually. And so it costs more than our regular stuff. So this is really for people that really trust what we're doing and want to make that investment. I guarantee that it's going to work, because we actually have a guarantee. Every program we have has a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee. So you can always, get a refund if you have an issue. So there's no risk at all. But that program's not the main one that you have to do. There's others that are smaller, but this is the one if you really want to go deep and you really want me to sit with you and talk to you, about your family, etc. But anyway, so let me say this to finish your question, Adrian. I would take your tax refund and literally go find somebody online who can teach me to do exactly what I need to do. For example, I was talking to somebody today, Danielle Pierce, about tax liens and foreclosures. And I was like, that's a great subject to teach, because that's an instant flip. Those are areas where you can quickly make money. So that's the stuff that I would rather learn. If I'm young and I'm Black and I'm trying to figure out how to get ahead or how to quit my job, I'm going to want to go to a class with somebody who's experienced in something that's going to be an immediate flip. Now, do we have a course on tax liens? Chuck is asking. No, we do not right now. We do have a real estate program. Dr. Dutra knows a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. She specializes mostly in flipping real estate, flipping properties. That's what she's going to do with her fund. And that's blackmoney105.com. But this other program, I am going to make a partnership with Danielle Pierce on her tax lien program. So I'll come back to you guys and talk to you guys about that. But yeah, Dr. V did a class on tax liens. Okay, so that class is recorded. So if you go into blackmoney105.com, or also if you go to, it's the same URL as the theblackrealestateprogram.com, theblackrealestateprogram.com. If you go there, then you can go in and watch the lecture on tax liens, and she breaks it all down. Also, Andre Hatchett teaches theblackrealestateschool.com, theblackrealestateschool.com. So that's another way that you can learn about tax liens and flipping properties and anything else. I think real estate is just a really cool way to know the empowerment of ownership. And so I'm a big fan of real estate. In fact, real estate's actually one of the 3 pillars of investing. The 3 pillars are stock and bond investing, real estate, and entrepreneurship. So those are the 3 areas we focus on. So Adrian, I would go and learn from somebody who knows how to do it, and then get the rest of the money to start taking those baby steps. And preferably, if you can even do a partnership, if you can do a partnership with somebody that really knows their way around it. And that's important in real estate, because I did a consultation with a guy, and I remember, when we did the one-on-one consultation, the fee for the consultations for business owners is not that much. I think it's like $500 an hour or something. But it's mostly for people that are doing these, major stuff with business and really want that one-on-one time. I don't have a lot of time to do stuff like that. And I remember I sat with him and I said, I said, okay, so you're telling me you spent $700,000 that you had saved up on this real estate deal, and that was your first deal, and the deal went bad, and that's why he called me. He said the deal's gone bad. I don't know what to do. And I said, a dollar of prevention can be worth $100,000 of cure. I said, there are things I can tell you now, but I could have told you a lot more if you'd went ahead and made the investment before you move forward with this, as opposed to after. And if it wasn't with me, you should have been working with somebody. I think you should have sat with somebody, paid them a few $100, maybe a couple thousand, whatever you got to pay them, to walk you through that process, because there were things he missed in this deal that he could have easily spotted if he were with somebody who was more experienced. So, so Adrian, when you move forward with what you're doing, try to get with somebody who knows how to do what you're trying to do. That's my point. That being mentored by an experienced person can literally knock 10 years off of your life in terms of time you save, that you could have wasted trying to figure it out on your own. Don't go bumbling your way through the process, because what will happen is it'll be 5-10 years and thousands of dollars later when you finally figure it out, and you're looking back at all these dumb mistakes you made all along the way, when there could have been somebody where you sat down with them for 30 minutes and they could have explained enough stuff that would have saved you a year of effort. Literally a year. So that, in fact, I would say that if I was to say that the thing that that our teachers in the Black Business School give you that has the most value, it would be their experience. When Nicole Compton, who's an attorney, she's been an attorney for 20 years and been a business owner for 20 years and has helped thousands of people, do legal stuff, business stuff, all that. She used to be my lawyer she still is actually in certain cases. She can tell you, like, anything you're trying to do, she can tell you a story about a client who did it a certain way and what happened to them, and you want people like that can advise you. You don't, and the reason universities are bad is not just because they leave you saddled with debt and never teach you how to own anything, but also the classes are taught by professors who've never actually done anything. Most academicians I know, they write research papers. That's what, when we were at Syracuse, that's what we did. We wrote research papers. We didn't, have people going out running businesses. I didn't do that till I left Syracuse and said, I want to get out in the real world. They don't know the real world. You need somebody that knows the real world, and you really need somebody who knows what it's like to be Black. So they won't say anything stupid like, well, if you want to get the business started, you should go borrow $200,000 from your relatives. What relatives you got that can loan you $200,000? Most Black people don't have relatives that can loan them $200,000. If you do, then God bless you. I'm happy for you. Angela, are you still bullish on Bitcoin and crypto? And how have you been investing during this bear market? I am bullish long-term on crypto. As Warren Buffett said, investing is a marathon, not a sprint. If you make an investment, you should, especially stocks, and I think this applies to crypto also. If you're not willing to hold it for 10 years, then you shouldn't hold it for 10 minutes. That's what Warren Buffett believes. I invest like with that Warren Buffett kind of approach. So with crypto, I see it as a long-term play. For me, I'm not saying this is not my advice. It's not me saying I know what's going to happen for sure. I just like the potential of the technology. And so my play during the bear market has been to either buy more stuff or just sit with the portfolio I have. Right now, I have the allocation in crypto that I'm comfortable with. It's not small. I own a lot of coins. And the reason that, I'm okay with holding that is because if you look at the history of crypto, most people who are in that space will tell you that there have been many crashes through the years. That what happened this year in terms of everything taking off and then plummeted, it's happened several times before. So when I read that, I was like, oh, okay, so this is kind of business as usual. So at some point, somebody's going to wake up and realize, oh, wait, there's this Bitcoin thing again, and suddenly it becomes a fad again. The prices go up and all that other stuff. So I'm not telling you I know for sure. I'm telling you that that's the play that I made. I have my crypto, I own it, it's there. That's what you do. When you invest, that's what you do. You own things. You're not constantly buying, selling, buying, selling, buying, selling, buying, selling, getting in, getting out, getting in, getting out. No, you just own stuff. That's what rich people do. Rich people, and you're all of you are going to be rich people. And to be a grown up rich person, you start off as a baby rich person. What does that mean? Well, rich people just own things and they move their assets around. Maybe they'll sell some stock to buy some real estate, sell some real estate to buy a business or whatever, but they're moving their assets around. But you never hear about a millionaire who's like, I sold my business so I can go buy Nike sneakers and go to the club and buy some Popeye's chicken. Like they don't do that. If they sell one asset, they use it to buy another. You understand? So they literally just own a bunch of stuff. And then they're able to, over time, receive dividends and interest payments and profits from the assets they own. It's like having a bunch of apple trees in your backyard, and each day you're just eating apples. You're just eating apples. You're hungry. I'm going to grab an apple and I'm going to eat it. There's not a day where somebody who owns apple trees is going to come out there with a chainsaw and be like, well, I'm done with these trees. I'm going to cut them all down. Like, they don't do that. They're just there. They bloom every year. The apples are the dividends. They eat the dividends and they keep taking care of the tree. So let me, somebody asked for the website again. Yeah, it's blackdragondiscount.com. So there you go. So that's where you can get the discount for the Black Dragon program. So let me see. Stephanie Gray raised her hand. Don't raise your hand. Put your question in the Q&A section and I'll answer it. And actually, I've actually gone over the hour that I allocated. So I'm actually going to get up out of here, because the queen told me a while back that it was dinner time. And when she tells me to do something, I do it, because I learned a long time ago that the best way to be successful as a Black man is you must listen to Black women. So when that Black woman tells me to do something, I'm going to go do it. So I love y'all. But I don't know if I love y'all more than I love her cooking. It's close. It's like a tie kind of thing, because she's a hell of a cook. And it was awesome talking to you guys. I hope you guys benefited from this conversation. Make sure you're doing something in the Black Business School, even if you're signed up for free, even if you're doing the free stuff, because everybody can join for free, get a free membership. Even the free stuff will get you started. TheBlackBusinessSchool.com if you're not in yet. TheBlackBusinessSchool.com. If you want to join my stock market investing program, I'll type that in, the URL in as well. It's TheBlackStockMarketProgram.com. The first month costs you nothing, so you won't pay a penny. And after that, if you like it, you can stay. Then you will be billed, but it's $89 a month. But it changes your life. It'll change everything. I guarantee you. Not just now, but what it does is it changes your family culture to the point where now you're having different conversations, and when you're having different conversations, you have different outcomes. So change the conversations, change the culture. You will change the outcomes. And it's going to change the outcomes for many generations to come. So I'm out of here, guys. Have a good day. It was awesome talking to you, and I'll see you soon. Be good.